Okay, so this is the first project that I did for the company since I've been here, and it was, like I said, the original part of it was generated with Claude, and then we went through and optimized it and everything. So what it is an end of chain module. So I'm gonna pull up this drum loop here. For starters, in its most basic form, it's a mono to stereo conversion. So this knob here does a combination of the Haas effect and mid-side processing to do mono, stereo, and super stereo.
Okay.
If you plug a stereo signal in, let me turn this modulation off. If you plug a stereo signal in, it'll collapse it to mono, or it'll give you the differential to give you super wide stereo. So the top portion is modeled after the characteristics of the LA2A optical compressor. And in this setting here, it's 3-to-1 compression. So if we turn it all the way up, you can hear a nice pumping there. If we dial it back, you get a nice gentle glue. Let's pull this back a little bit. You can limit it, so you can squash it to hell if you want like a very, very, very sterile nuke all the transients kind of thing. But if you dial it back, you get some nice pumping. There's parallel dry wet, so you can preserve the transients of the original thing while blending in some of the intensity. And the output of it is analog style tape saturation, like 10H sine wave clipping. So you can get a nice little crunch, or you can turn it all the way up, 40 dB of gain if you're gonna really blow it out. And the bottom portion is based on the Neve 1073 EQ, 3-band EQ. So it can be pre or post compressor. So it's plus minus 15 dB boost cut per channel, cutting the bass, boosting it. You can select the frequencies here. Here's what the mid-band sounds like. Here's the high shelf, 10K. And there's also a high pass before the low shelf, so you can do the Pultec EQ trick where you can remove DC before boosting the bass for a cleaner bass boost. So just to show you an example of it, I'm gonna get a sound that sounds pretty cool, and then I'm gonna get a volume level match so that we can A/B it. Let's turn it way up. So here's off. Get some reverb in here. In terms of sound quality, right? This wasn't like make me an LA2A, you know, kind of thing. I had to know, you know, I have a background in synthesis and mixing, so I had to know things like what are the attack times, what are the release times, what happens to an optical compressor when you're driving the light, like what's really happening there. There's a filament that shuts off quickly, there's a slew time, there's all these things. So I had to really think about, in real world human terms, like what's happening with that light. We can like look it up and try to find science and stuff, or we can use our ears and we can think about what's happening. Like I've used an LA2A, I've sat in front of it, I'm sitting there and I'm like, what's really happening? How does the sound change? What's happening with the release times as the light's getting brighter and the threshold and all of these things, you know?
Absolutely.
What are the curves of the EQ supposed to look like? I have a 1073 at home. I pulled it up on a frequency analyzer in my studio. I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, like we could look at theoretical graphs all day in data sheets and be like, oh, in a perfect world, it's this tilt and everything, and mathematical plots and everything. Or we can look at what really happens to the output of the audio. So like I said, I do mastering stuff. So I'm really attuned to like very, very subtle changes. And something that was very important to me, what you're talking about, is I was being cognizant of the fact that anyone who's buying this module, one of the reasons why we didn't fully parameterize the EQ and the compressor and give you every control for ratio, you know, full sweep of all the filters for the EQ, is because people have a problem with what you're talking about, like knowing how to dial in a compressor, knowing how to dial in an EQ and sweep for frequencies and everything. And I don't want anyone to do that. I want them to make music. I want their music to sound better.
Yeah, this sounds
so I want to just be like, just go and like pretty much anywhere you set these knobs for the most part will sound okay.
Yeah.
And if you're like, there's too much treble, you just turn the treble knob down a little bit. Or if you don't like the mid frequency, pick one of the 6 frequencies we selected for you, which generally sound good for most genres of music. There's a reason why Neve chose these frequencies. There's also a performance element of it here. So I have like a techno patch happening here. And you can use this for like DJ style, right? Like you can do do like subtle changes over time.
So basically, super useful. Right?
Yeah.
Hands-on, super useful. Right away. Yeah.
You know, you could do risers with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nice.
So yeah, I mean, like, even if you're just like listening to it here, if you were at a show and you're like, oh, I don't like that, that's too much, you just turn down a little bit. You know?
Yeah.
And there's also a feature I didn't show you here. So if you hold this button down, it changes the EQ to a much more subtle range. So it goes from plus minus 15 dB to plus minus 5. And not only does it change the overall range of the filter, it also makes the slope more gentle from 12 dB per octave to 6 dB per octave. So you can have a very gentle, very subtle EQ that's more in line with like a mastering EQ. So if you're at the show and you're worried about big crazy changes, and like let's say you're even here, right? You're at Superbooth where there's this huge speaker stack with gigantic subwoofers and crazy low end frequencies. If you turn the 35 hertz band on, you can just like turn the subs down a little bit. You know what I mean? Like if it's just like too like, ooh, you know, this is just like a nice surgical. The 5 dB thing is really great for that.
So you can make sure you have clarity.
Yeah, like listen to how subtle the bass. Just like a little bit at full, you know, or cut just a little bit. Same with the mids. Very gentle.
Yeah, this looks like perfect to like the last module in your chain to control how it actually sounds in the room.
Yeah,
this
so
would be amazing.
not only was it designed with that idea in mind, but it plays into our other output modules, right? So we conceived of the reverb in a similar way of using it as the room itself, right?
Yeah.
So the reverb and the leveling EQ, and also we've been putting out these output modules for years now. We have different configurations of headphone, amplifiers, mixers. We even have an SD card wave recorder. And all of them on the back of the module have a 3-pin connector for daisy chaining the 2-track to each module. So you can have a normalized connection where the reverb is always into this module and always plugged into your output module, just set up. So you only need 2 cables and there's your output chain. And if you want to use it as an individual module, you can break the normalization by patching into it, which is cool. So that was a core concept the entire time of developing this. It's like I always envision this as like when I'm mastering, what are all the things that I want to do that I can simplify and make useful and get like a very large gradient of control in a relatively small package that you can still get your hands in if you want to perform it, and just stick in every patch. Like I want this to be one of those modules where it's like, you gotta have this at the end of your chain, you know what I mean? Like you just have to have it. It doesn't matter what genre of music you're doing, techno, ambient music, sound design, it doesn't matter. Like put this at the end of your chain, it'll make it sound better. That's the whole idea.
Yeah. Fantastic.